Take a deep breath, because we're about to step into a world where survival wasn't a chapter, it was the whole book. Before we begin, tell us what time is it for you right now, and where are you watching from? You're born into mud, into a hut patched with straw and hope. There's no cradle of silk, no nursemaid, just your mother's calloused hands and your father's silence. Your first memory? The cold, not winter cold, soul cold, the kind that leaks through wood and bone. You wake, not to a lullaby, but to the sound of coughing, deep, wet, endless. It belongs to your brother, or maybe it doesn't. The plague takes faces before names. There are no portraits of you, no records. If you die today, you'll be buried in a hole too shallow to stop the wolves, and the world won't blink. But you survive, somehow. Maybe because your mother boiled nettles into broth, maybe because you learned to chew slowly, to make each crust of bread last. You grow, but not tall, not strong, just enough. You don't dream of castles, you dream of full stomachs. You don't imagine glory, you imagine peace. And most days, even that is out of reach. But the day you carry your baby brother on your shoulders while working in the fields, or share your last crumb with an old man who has nothing, that's the kind of quiet heroism no bard will ever sing of. No one sees you, but everything rests on you. The Lord sits in stone halls warmed by firewood you chopped, eats meat from pigs you raised, prays in a chapel built by hands like yours. Bleeding, cracked, unseen, you owe him taxes, in grain, in labor, sometimes in blood. When a noble's son dies in war, you lose your own. Drafted, disappeared, forgotten. They call it feudalism, you call it life, and there's no escape. You hear whispers of far-off lands, of cities with towers, of coins made of silver, but they are dreams. And you are here, in the mud, in the smoke, in the silence. You fix his fence, you harvest his field, you stand when he passes. And if he calls for your daughter, you lower your eyes and pray she comes back whole. There is no justice, only obedience. Your day starts before dawn, not with birdsong, but with the grunt of the ox and the ache in your knees. You plow until your fingers bleed, plant until your spine curves, harvest until you can't feel your legs. And when it's done, you give half away, to the Lord, to the church, to the miller, to the taxman. And with what remains, you feed your family. Maybe you eat rye bread, onions, sometimes beans. Meat is for holy days, which means never. And still, you say grace because you're alive. You learn to mend your own tools, mix your own salves, patch your own wounds, because there is no one else. And if the plow breaks, or the cow dies, or your roof caves in, you don't curse the heavens. You get to work. You carry firewood in storms, fix shoes with twine. You teach your son how to read the stars, not for dreams, but to know when to plant. You survive because no one else will do it for you. When it rains, it floods. When it doesn't, it starves. Nature is not your friend. She is a queen without mercy. You build dikes, you dig trenches, you pray to the saints for good weather and fewer rats. But when the river swells, you grab your child and run. If you're lucky, you find higher ground. If not, you rebuild, again and again, until the sky finally smiles. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the crops drown. Sometimes the hail crushes your wheat. Sometimes a single night of wind tears through everything you built that year. And yet, you try again. You drag your plow through mud. You fix your thatch. You brace your door against wolves, both four-legged and two. No magic, just motion, just another breath. It never truly leaves. One sneeze, one cough, one black rat, and it begins again. First the coughing, then the fever, then the black boils. They say it's God's punishment, that it came from the east, that it hides in sin. You don't care. You burn your linens, hang herbs in your windows, refuse to touch the bread. But the priest dies, then the baker, then your sister. And still the Lord's steward collects the tithe, even when the dead outnumber the living. And in the quiet that follows, you dig graves, shallow, cold, and pray your name is not next. Children cry without voices. Doors stay shut. Entire villages vanish. You leave bread on the doorstep, then flee. You light candles for 10 souls, then 11, then you run out. You do not cry, not because you are brave, but because there are no tears left. You know the famine is coming before the snow falls. The wheat grew thin, the turnips withered. The mice were too many. You count the sacks. You ration the beans. You boil bones until they become jelly. Your child cries at night, not from nightmares, from the emptiness inside. You feed them your portion and lie. I'm not hungry. You chew bark, eat grass. You boil nettles and pretend it's soup. You learn which weeds don't kill you, which roots give just enough. You bury more than you save, but still, you sow again. And when spring comes and something green finally breaks the soil, you weep, not for joy, for permission to believe again. She is your mother, your wife, your daughter. She carries buckets from the well, tends goats, weaves cloth, gives birth without a scream. She doesn't complain, she sings, even while digging graves. And when her husband dies of fever, she puts on his boots, takes his tools, fills his place. She isn't written in books, but she is the spine of every generation. She stitches wounds, trades eggs, knows which herbs ease fever and which stop the bleeding. She gives everything and asks for nothing. She fights wars of endurance without a sword. She buries her child and then wakes to need bread. She is history's heartbeat. The priest says suffering is holy, that heaven is a reward. You want to believe him. You light candles you can't afford. Whisper prayers in Latin you don't understand. You give your last coin, not for salvation, but for hope. And when your child still dies, you say the priest was right, because if he's wrong, then everything breaks. So you keep kneeling, even when your knees bleed, even when the saints are silent, because to lose belief would mean losing the last thing you truly own, faith in something more. And sometimes that's all that keeps the hunger away. A horn sounds. The king is at war. With France? With Scotland? With himself? It doesn't matter. You are conscripted, given a spear, maybe a padded vest. You march, you bleed, you die on land you never knew existed. And when you don't come home, your wife is told he served well. But she still has 5 mouths to feed. You are buried in a pit. No name, no marker. But your ghost follows her home. She hangs your tunic by the door. Not because you'll return, but because she can't stand the emptiness. But not all is death. There are moments, glimmers, a wedding feast, drums echoing in the field, laughter in the barn. You drink, you dance, you forget. A baby takes its first steps. A cow births twins. A tomato ripens out of season. You thank God. You breathe. You carry on. Because even in bondage, even in ruin, something in you refuses to break. Even when the chains grow tighter, you still sing. You find joy in little things. The way morning fog curls over your field. The warmth of a shared blanket. The kindness of a stranger with an extra egg. You endure, not to become legend, but because survival is its own sacred victory. If you've walked this far, you've carried centuries with you. Now tell us, what time is it where you are? Where are you watching from? Let them see. These forgotten lives still speak. If this story moved you, like the video, share it, carry it forward. Because the peasants did not survive for glory. They survived so that someone, one day, might remember them. And now we do. Their struggle, their breath, their strength still echo even now. The candle they lit in darkness burns still in us.